Are you wondering how today's conflicts are disrupting the world's oil supply and raising the price of energy everywhere? This detailed guide breaks down the global oil landscape, showing how major producers, trade routes, and geopolitical tensions are shaping the flow of one of the world's most essential resources. Whether you're watching global markets, concerned about energy security, or just trying to understand why gas prices are rising, this breakdown gives you the numbers and context you need to stay informed. We'll explore where the world's oil comes from, how it's transported, and why certain shipping routes are so vulnerable. You'll discover how the current war in the Middle East, particularly threats from Iran and instability in the Strait of Hormuz, could shift supply chains dramatically. These insights will help you better understand global oil trends and anticipate the real-world effects of political conflict on everyday life. Today, global oil production sits at around 101.5 million barrels per day, BPD. This includes about 81.5 million barrels of oil per day of crude oil and 20 million barrels of oil per day of natural gas liquids and condensates. The United States is currently the top oil producer, pumping out 12.9 million barrels of oil per day, thanks to shale oil. Saudi Arabia follows with 9.2 million barrels of oil per day, and Russia comes next with 9.0 million barrels of oil per day, despite ongoing sanctions and rerouted exports to Asia.
Other significant producers include Canada, 4.8 million barrels of oil per day, China, 4.1 million barrels of oil per day, Iraq, 4.2 million barrels of oil per day, and Brazil, 3.7 million barrels of oil per day. Even though Iran produces 2.5 million barrels of oil per day, its exports are limited due to US and EU sanctions, yet recent reports show that up to 1.6 million barrels of oil per day still reach markets like China through indirect channels. We'll also look at who exports the most oil. Saudi Arabia leads with 7.1 million barrels of oil per day, followed by Russia, 6.7 million barrels of oil per day, and the US, 4.5 million barrels of oil per day. These exports are crucial for meeting demand, but they rely on key shipping routes, especially the Strait of Hormuz, where 20 to 25% of the world's seaborne oil, about 21 million barrels of oil per day, flows daily. Right now, the biggest threat to oil supply is a possible closure of this strait. Iran's recent threats to block or disrupt traffic through Hormuz have increased tanker insurance costs, delayed shipments, and contributed to a sharp rise in oil prices. Analysts estimate that if the strait were fully blocked, Brent crude could spike to $120 to $130 per barrel, up from its current range of $78 to $80. The market is already reacting, with prices rising by about 10% since mid-June. We'll also touch on OPEC Plus spare capacity, which is around 3.5 to 4 million barrels of oil per day, primarily from Saudi Arabia and the UAE. This buffer can soften some supply shocks but may not be enough if a major disruption like a blockade occurs. Understanding where oil comes from, how it's moved, and what geopolitical risks threaten it helps explain why prices fluctuate and why global stability is closely tied to energy. Whether you're analyzing market shifts or just trying to budget for fuel, this snapshot gives you the data and perspective you need to make sense of the changing energy landscape.